I was always the first woman to fill in the blank at this particular company. It gave me a purpose in some way, but it was never really fulfilling emotionally. And I finally decided I was going to break up with them. I realized I didn't have to completely put it on pause. There's so many tools available in the collective that help you buy back your time. I handled that over here, and I don't know that I could have done that without the collective. I put it on my vision board. September came and I was like, oh my God, I did. How? I just stayed the course. I just didn't look down.
Felena began her grant writing journey right before an unexpected health crisis hit her father. Despite an 18-month caretaking journey, she prioritized her new adventure, hitting the $50K in revenue mark just within her first year. Her dad, who sadly passed in July, was so proud of her dedication to her new business, and Felena is so proud that she was able to build a flexible career that allowed her to not only pursue her dreams, but to be there with her dad when it mattered most. If you want an example of what we mean when we say build a career that is in alignment with your priorities, with what you want out of life, this is it. Meet Felena. Felena, I am so humbled that we get to share your story today.
So excited and nervous, but now I'm just excited.
That's the unicorn journey, right? We're just always nervous and excited.
Welcome it now. I'm like, nervous is good. A little anxiety is good.
I couldn't agree more.
Yes.
What drew you to seek a grant writing community?
I was in a procurement, purchasing supply chain role for about 14 years. It was a great company, moved up the ladder, great salary. I was always the first woman to fill in the blank at this particular company. It gave me a purpose in some way, but it was never really fulfilling emotionally. And I finally decided I was going to break up with them in 2021. After that, I took a couple of months off. And then after that, went back to therapy and career counseling because I didn't know how to answer what I wanted to do when I grew up. I was 45, I think, at that time. I kept getting pointed back to grant writing. I knew a couple of people that kind of did it, but no one I was really very close to. So I went to a local school here. I did get a local certificate. I kept finding Meredith on Instagram. I'd kind of been stalking you guys on Instagram and I really liked the content. I loved the energy. And then finally she had posted her, you know what, or get off the pot kind of videos last year. And I was like, she's right. I'm just lurking. Like, when am I going to do something about this? And after that, I joined and I'm overjoyed that I finally did it because it wasn't really something I normally would have done.
What do you think the value of getting a coach versus continuing on solo?
I started working at home, even overseas, for an American company in like 2007. I loved working by myself. I loved having my own space and not having the whole water cooler culture. And what I didn't realize I would need, and now I very much appreciate and acknowledge, is you do need a community. It's really hard to work in a bubble. I think your ego might grow a little. If you think you're the smartest person in the room, you're absolutely not. There was so much I didn't know and so much I wanted to know. An epiphany was that mentors and coaches don't have to be older than you, more life experience than you, or the same life journey. They can be down here or lateral or across, right? They can be anywhere and come in any form. And I think that was very eye-opening to me. I'm like, these wonderful women, a lot of them are younger than me. You feel completely connected. It doesn't even come up. It's like irrelevant. I think of it like I'm renting office space. I have a beautiful space that I already have. Now I have this community I can just dive into when I need to, and I can ask anything. And nobody makes fun of you. Nobody is like, are you serious right now? Or I can search the collective for answers from like 2 years ago that somebody was talking about, something that I'm into now. Just being able to have coworkers without having the burden of driving into an office. I can live anywhere. I can do anything, and I can still reach into my colleagues. They're just built in, which is pretty cool.
You get to come to this co-working space where the pressure's off a little bit.
It is so wonderful to go in and be like, does anybody have a template for a kickoff meeting, but with this slant to it? And no one is like coveting their materials or not sharing because they're wanting to get the raise or have their boss think they're the smart. This community is like, I want you to do better. Please take this. Feel free to use it however you would like. There is no weird ownership, false ownership. Like that I love. And the other thing I really, really love is just how innovative most folks are. They're really interested in AI. You guys, of course, are really, that was a really big draw too. I think the older you get to, you want to make sure your pulse is still there. I don't want to be that person at any age that's like, I have no idea what that program is. I want to be on the forefront always. And the only way to do that is to be around other people.
You have built this business. You hit 50K in revenue, kind of like, oh my gosh, I hit 50K in revenue while probably, I'm going to assume, going through one of the hardest parts of your life.
It was very hard. And I started the collective, which is shortly after I had my first clients. So we'll say like last May is when I started really diving in. My father, he had a lot of health issues and he needed some caregiving. And that ended up taking a good 4 to 5 months. And it was right after I'd gotten my client. I finally found something I was excited about, waking up every day. I was never nervous on a Sunday anymore, right? I was so excited. And to have to put it on pause was hard. However, I realized I didn't have to completely put it on pause. There's so many tools available in the collective that help you buy back your time, save your time, not stress out, because there's all these other people who have gone through it or going through it. If I had a quick question, I would just go in and ask, help me keep this client. I was successful and I still have them. I hope I have them forever just because they're just a wonderful group. They never saw me skip a beat. I handled that over here. And I don't know that I could have done that without the collective and without the resources the collective brings. Book recommendation, the book stuff. Like every time I see one, I'm like, okay, I'm almost done with buy back your time. I probably say that phrase every week. I mean, my husband loves it. He uses the vernacular with me. He's like, oh, I see you're buying back your time there. Hard year, had a good pocket of time between last November when I did join the collective and I thought my caregiving was over. But then this April, he went back into the hospital. I was super down. I had already been in the collective for a little bit. I knew that it was going to be okay. I just kept going. And I had a goal to reach my revenue in September. I put it on my vision board. September came and I was like, oh my God, I did. How? I know how. I just stayed the course. I just didn't look down. I was like, okay, there's no reason I can't do this and this. I can't do anything more, but that's okay. And knowing those two things is enough. If someone needs something, I can say no because I've already said yes to these two things and they're very important to me and they can both coexist. Somehow I made it through. And I know that my dad, he's since passed, but he was really proud, right? He would always ask, like, how's that going? It was nice for him to see that I didn't have to give up what I had worked really hard for. I did have to say no to a client. I had them for a good 2 months right before he had gotten sick again, but they were an especially needy, not in a bad way, but they were a needy client. They just had a lot of work to do and there was no way I was going to be able to do it. When I normally wouldn't have done this, I would have just done it. And look what I did, even though I almost killed myself. And this badge of honor we have to wear for no good reason. You don't have to do everything. Basically told that contact that I wasn't able to do it. And I was so embarrassed to have to tell them that, but it was the best thing I did because they appreciated the honesty, the vulnerability, gave me permission to say, I'm so sorry I'm not able to take this opportunity right now. I wish you the best, but I do apologize. I have to focus on my family right now. And I know what my purpose is now. If it's not fitting in there, it's okay to say no or not right now.
What a gift to give that to other people because you gave them permission in who knows what permission it was, right? Or how it will come up in their life, but they now understand that no can be done graciously, lovingly, and in alignment.
It felt good. I wasn't saying no. I was just saying more like a no but or a no and. It didn't feel bad. No is not negative.
I hope everyone listening is like, we don't need to ghost. We just had a beautiful example of how we can still have conversations today.
I just attacked it straight on because we're going to have this talk now. Also, you don't want to let them down, right?
Well, I'm really sorry to hear about the loss of your dad. And I'm just so grateful, as I'm sure he was, for the gift you gave him at the end of life to just be so loved on and nurtured.
It felt good to spend more time too. A gift that I would not quite have had, even though I did work at home in my old career, just because of the sheer amount of work.
What are you most proud of?
Most proud of not just sticking with it, actually going through the coursework. Since I already had a grant writing certificate, I wanted to stay in it to learn all of the stuff. I just wanted to know, like, I want to be a subject matter expert like I had been in my old career. And I wanted to test myself. Like, can you stay interested in something for this long to master it? If you master it, the people who are going to benefit, it's not just me who's going to be benefiting. It's all of the missions and people and organizations that I have any affiliation with, hopefully get to like absorb whatever I've learned. I'm really proud that I didn't just like do that Ugh, yeah. I know. I already have my certificate. Blah blah blah. No, like I never did that once. So I was like, no, there's something to be learned. I was wrong in that it wasn't something. It was like 1,000 things, and I'm still learning because I'm still here. Like your year's up, and I could just be like, well, gotta go. But why? There's so much more. There's new content all the time.
Talk to us about what 2025 looks like. Do you have a vision for what 2025 looks like?
I would like to have at least 3 retainer clients. So I have one now and a funding strategy I'm working on that I think will yield to a second.
Awesome.
I don't think my goal is to up my team quite yet. And selfishly, I think it's because I'm just enjoying still doing it all by myself. But my goal by the end of 2025 is to kind of overcome that. I want to be prepared for that. Even though I think my processes are dialed in, I want to make sure that they are dialed in enough for someone else to learn, and it's not just tribal knowledge all living here. Another thing I've learned is I can do whatever I want. My goals don't have to be your goals, don't have to be mirror this. Everyone's can look a little different. That's really my goal by the end of the year, is nail down those retainers and then kind of make a conscious decision of how I want to see my next decade, because I'll be 48 by the end of this year.
What is your revenue goal for 2025?
90 to 110 would be a nice, comfortable, still being solo spot. And then I can kind of be like, okay, now what?
One of the things that I loved about your post in the community group when you shared about your past year is that you continued to soul care. So you continue to go to therapy, you continue to prioritize yourself, not only by pursuing your dreams, which is a form of soul care, but in other elements too. I really admire and appreciate the intentionality that you are putting into all of this to make sure that you are taken care of too.
Yeah, that's a hard one. That's the one thing that I learned. If I'm not taking care of myself, I'm no good to anybody else, mentally and physically, but mostly mentally, because just the level of frustration and taking anger out on the wrong things or people in general doesn't feel good at all. And sharing wins, that's still a hard one. Everyone's can look different. I started big and I was like, this isn't quite me. So I went back small, and then I started building up again. A few years ago, I would have just beat myself up for not doing it how everybody else was doing it. It's not the mimicking that's important. It's just doing it. It's not the information. It's your aura or your energy or the way you're presenting it might just speak to someone that they're finally able to learn it. That's the stuff right there, right? It's connection.
So beautiful. Rapid fire questions. What is one word to describe your dream lifestyle?
Intimate.
What is your next vacation spot?
I really want to go to Woodstock, Vermont. It just looks like a Hallmark movie. I really want to go there in the winter, or Scotland. That's my second choice.
Favorite podcast?
I love Smartlist and Freakonomics.
What are you reading right now?
Buy Back Your Time.
And last TV show you binged?
It was That Perfect Couple show.
What is your superpower?
Disarming people with humor and wit, especially when things start getting a little hairy or the conversation starts getting complicated. That's usually where I can come in and be like, oh, it's okay, everyone. Big hugs. We're fine.
I would also add curiosity. That's the thread that has really woven for me in this interview.
It's probably a common thread in a lot of people in the collective too.
I so appreciate your vulnerability. Mostly, I appreciate your dedication to sticking to your dreams. It's so admirable. Thank you.
I appreciate it. It's so weird to talk about yourself, right? It feels good though sometimes just to.
And it's a practice of celebrating. We are celebrating the incredible dedication that you put in and marking what a beautiful gift you also gave to your dad in the process of that.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
We'll see you soon.